Kau ka holo kia hi manu o laai po ele kaua hino e kana hele. No he ai ka makani lu hau puai. E pua oni ke ka naka he mea laha ole ha o. Mai kaua e hea ne.
The morning is fragrant with the breath of the land that has sustained all generations. I have looked forward to your presence, and now that we are together, it matters not from where you have come or where you may go from here, but if you have aloha in your hearts, then all things should be right. All things should be pono. I want to share a little bit before our pule, because I think many of you may not know the history of this place. Very briefly, King Kaumuali'i was born at Wailua, at the heiau there, but he was raised here by his mother. At the time of his birth, he probably was the highest lineage in all of Hawaii. Kamehameha, in order to court Ka'ahumanu, he had to crawl because his lineage was not as high. Before Kaumuali'i died, one of his favorite friends was Keapulani, Kamehameha's first wife, who was the most sacred woman. He did not have to crawl, he walked to her. So I'm glad to see all of you. The story is long. The Friends of King Kaumuali'i have been, since 2012. What happened in 2012? A book was written by Lee Croft, who was a professor in Arizona. He brought the book to Kauai, and Barbara Bennett, who's with For Kauai, brought him to show me his book. Well, his book was so thick, and as I flipped through the pages, there was a picture, a painting, no caption, and I had chicken skin from top to my bottom running right through me. What is this? Lee, is this Kaumuali'i? Why do you ask? He said. Because I'm having chicken skin. Yes, it is. The artist was Brooke Parker, a young Hawaiian man on Oahu. He gave us unlimited use to use that painting. I realized immediately that this was a calling for me. It's been a long journey, but we never give up. I remember a story that my father shared with me about fishing. And I would be his bag girl. And we would fish along the coastline here. This was all sugar cane. All the pohaku was bulldozed. And very quietly, he would slip into the fort. Papa, you can't do that. There's a sign that says, keep out. What is it? What's inside of the fort? And this is what he would say. I just went to visit my papa. When I grew up, Kaumuali'i in the family was never referred to as a king. He was papa. In the Hawaiian culture, to be addressed papa is the highest that you could ask. A calling. Many have tried. Join me in prayer. Oh, gracious God, God of creation, you have created this beautiful place. You have created the island of Ni'ihau, Kauai, and the islands beyond, where the kingdom of Kaumuali'i. We gather today for this very special time to bring blessings upon each individual and to the blessings of the land. Hawaiians believe that all things have life. So Keakua, you have breathed life into everything. And this creation is for us to care for. God of love, God of aloha, God of velina. You have showered us with unconditional love throughout our years. But now, we need the love of neighbors and family more than ever in this time of uncertainty. If I did not have the faith to continue the work, the calling of getting this statue finally and today to break the ground. Mahalo Keakua. Mahalo that each person here, no matter what they do in their life, that they will have faith. And the kukui nut, the state plant, will light their way. Mahalo Keakua, mahalo aumakua, mahalo nā kupuna. Amene, amene, amene.
So, Aletha introduced me, Maureen Fodali. I'm the secretary of the board, and this, of course, is our president, longtime president, the originator of this project, even before we knew her. And finally, with the board, old board members and new board members, and many special friends today, is coming closer to fruition. Bob Westerman is our vice president and treasurer. Maleke Flores, a board director. Not present because of other work commitments are Sarah Peters, who's a kupuna at Eli. Roland Sagum, longtime island person, and Ke'au Naismith. The next people that I'll be introducing are people who were very instrumental in getting this project, I was going to say off the ground, but I guess on the ground. And that first person is Martha Yent from DLNR, and she has a long history with this and other projects.
Aloha kako, and it really has been a long time. I go back to the 1980s. Oh, wait, let me take the hat off. Which is when I met Mike Faya, and that led to our initial planning for the site in the 1980s. The result of that, and I still remember Mike wanting cannons on the fort wall. That was a biggie. We never quite got there, but what we did do is install the interpretive kiosk with the interpretive signs, which Unfortunately, the signs that you see today are the same ones we installed in 1988. So we're in the process of updating those much needed revisions to the signs. We did the interpretive trail, which is the crushed coral path that we have. We put in some signposts, and that was accompanied by the brochure. And I still look back at that. I think it's Governor Cayetano was on that brochure. So again, that's been a while. And then the next big thing was the West Kauai Business and Professional Association in 2009-2010 received several Hawaii Tourism Authority grants to remove the kiawe. So I think if you took a look at the pictures before, because the kiawe goes back to the late 1800s, and the early pictures we have of this site, the kiawe is already established. But thanks to Kikiaola and Mike and all his crew and the cranes, we managed to remove all of the kiawe from within and around the fort without touching a single rock on the fort wall. I think they did a great job. But the other interesting thing that's come up more recently is in 2017, the Russian American community decided to get involved with the site. And they put together a forum here on Kauai. We had a number of people from the community, and one of the big issues is the park name and whether to keep Russian in the park name. Still controversial, still hasn't been decided, but I think what we're moving towards, definitely including Pa'ulaula, the traditional Hawaiian place name, into our park name, referring to it more frequently as Pa'ulaula rather than Russian Fort. And I think what this statue to me represents is the first step towards bringing the Hawaiian cultural history back to the site. For so many years we were focused on the Russian American company, and the fact that they were really here only for about a month, or excuse me, a year. And they did not build the fort. They were instrumental in the design of the fort, but it was really the Hawaiian community. It was King Kaumuali'i that directed the work, that said yes to it being built here. So I think that's where I feel like this is such a positive first step, towards that multicultural story coming back to the site. And I'd also like to acknowledge Representative Morikawa for her obtaining $800,000 of the CIP budget for this site. So we're going to be renovating the restroom, doing some repaving of the parking lot. We're going to be redoing the interpretive path, tying in the statue with the pathway, updating all our interpretive materials. We're discussing the idea of viewing platforms so that people are not climbing on the walls and just damaging or otherwise causing impacts to the site. So thank you, Representative, for that.
Next, I would like to ask Mike to give us his story, Mike Faya, his story, because he's been around since, I think, must have been his teenage years if we're talking about 70s and 80s.
Thanks, Maureen, and thanks, Aletha. I don't think I should be standing on that site where Kaumuali'i goes. But, actually, my involvement in this fort, I started off in as a 7th or 8th grade science project mapping the fort when I was at St. Teresa School. So it goes way back till the 1960s, I guess. 60s, yeah. But in today's point in history, like much of early Hawaiian history, the site is very complex, and it to me it reflects the early or the Hawaiians' early understanding of geopolitics. And if you read Peter Mills's book, Hawaii's Russian Adventure, and it just shows how astute the Hawaiian rulers of the day, Kamehameha, Kaumuali'i, and others were on where Hawaii was in a place in the global, particularly in the Pacific geopolitical area, and it really reflects to me on the, these guys knew what was going on, and Kaumuali'i reflects that. As Alitha mentioned, very high in the ranking of in the old Hawaiian system, but he knew exactly what was happening geopolitically, playing Americans and British against the Russians to help him keep his separate kingdom. So, and Kaumuali'i welcomes the missionaries here, and I think part of the positioning of the statue, I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but him looking out and welcoming people. He brought the missionaries, which kind of is the turning the page to modern Hawaii. They lived below his royal compound here. He gave them house sites, makai of this quote-unquote fort. So, just a very, I think, important person that is not well understood or recognized, I think is a better word, of being such an important person in Hawaiian history and Kauai history especially. My connection here with West Kauai business, we started cleaning the fort ages and ages ago, which I think other parties had tried to do before that. And because we could see, sawed off kiabi trees, etc. And I think it's fitting that we have Ron here today to hopefully address us a little bit in that time period of 20-something years or longer, trying to get this project off the ground and trying to get something to happen. The idea of bringing Kaumuali'i here is kind of a more recent thing, and to be honest, I was a little bit cautious about it because afraid of vandalism, etc. But the more I talked and learned and listened to Alitha, the more important and the more appropriate it is that Kaumuali'i is here. So thank you, Alitha. And I think as we've moved along, thanks to Martha and the state's stewardship of it, West Kauai business, here we have, it's still on my calendar, every second Saturday, I think it is, of the month, it pops up and we're supposed to come out here and clean, and we did. So, I want to thank West Kauai business, Eric Nordmeyer, the gang that came out, every month, keep this place clean. But I mentioned Peter Mills. I think his book was a real turning point in many of us. When he wrote it, I finally said, yeah, that's it. And I think, representing Alitha maybe, I think we all felt that he wrote the best story of this, or the best history of this important place. As far as Kikiola construction, in name I'm still the president, but really as the work moves through here, I've kind of turned it over. As you know, I'm at Kikaha Agriculture most of the time, but I've turned it over to my son Richard, who's not here, but more importantly, Lauren Starner. Lauren, he's the guy that on the business end of it that puts everything together. And then we're really fortunate to have Tony King come back to Kikiola. Tony, the only Kikiola guy without the yellow shirt on, but that's okay. Tony's been in construction, and many of you know many of the projects that he's worked on, and I'm really happy that he'll be running this job and making it happen. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you for the leadership, Alitha. Thank you for supporting her Marine, for making this all happen. If it wasn't for people like you, and whenever there's anything cultural that needs to be thought of or some question, for me anyway, I go to Alitha and we sit down and have a really good talk. And I always come out of there with my own chicken skin. And so, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we're able to make your dream happen here. So thank you. Thank you.
I also wanted to introduce Dee Morikawa, who's our state rep. She was instrumental a few years back when we had a Grand Ho'olalea fundraiser on down by Kikiaola. Our dream was expressed to the public out loud, saying, "This is what we want to do, help us." And she got in front of the mic and said, "I will help you get your dream to come true." So
just a few words. Stu Burley was the one that turned me onto this project many years ago. Bless you, Stu, this is happening today. When I first ran for office, an advisor told me never make promises that you cannot keep. So when I stood up on that stage and I made that promise, it was a promise that I really had to put my heart into. Now, when we ask for the money, I ask for the money, I need my Senate side to also agree. And so thank you, Senate President Kochi, because without the two of us agreeing, we wouldn't have these projects. I'm just so blessed to be here today to actually see it happening. And thank you, Sam, my Facebook friend, for your design of the true Kaumuali'i, I think. Mahalo.
Ron Kochi, could you share a few words with us?
So it's a pleasure to be back home again. From age 5 through 16, I lived in Nana's house, which we rented from the He family. So my experience was riding my bike and either practicing at the park or going to the river mouth to swim and sand surf. And all I could recall up here was keawe trees and koa and being overgrown. When I ran for the council in 1982, there was no West Kauai council member, and I remember meeting a young Mike Faya who was trying to revitalize the West Kauai Business and Professional Association, and there was talk about Main Street. And we've got the Tech Center, and we've gotten the renovated Waimea Theater, both of those projects with federal funding, with Senator Inouye's help. And so this park has been part of a larger plan for the whole Waimea community and creating an inviting atmosphere for people to stop. And so in listening to what both Mike and Auntie Alitia had to say about King Kaumuali'i, it was clear that this was something that he had embodied. And so I'm glad that we can continue. And then to Dee's point, using the football analogy, she has been the leader in this project and she has taken the lead. I have the responsibility of representing the whole island, and so I often look to the House member in the specific districts to find out what are the projects they're pushing. And so Dee is the offense, and Dee has the first charge because the House works on the budget first. It comes to us and then we take care of all of our senators' projects and we wipe out a whole bunch of House projects. And at the end we go to conference committee and make sausage. And my job is to be the defensive unit to go on the field and protect what the offense has done and all of the money that was put in. But Dee also made sure when the Finance Committee and the Ways and Means Committee visited Kauai 5 or 6 years ago, we met with the West Kauai Business and Professional Association here on the site, so that when she's been back at the Capitol advocating for this money, the people on the committee know exactly where it is, exactly what's going to happen, and why. As you look and you can see Niihau, you can see the ocean, the mountain, the significance of this place. And she has made it a lot easier for her to succeed in what she's doing, for me to succeed in what I'm doing, by making sure that they came to walk on this ground. So to all of you who have been involved, mahalo.
Because it is his poster that Aletha resonated with that picture of Kaumuali'i, since no actual photographs of him exist. So with that picture, he gave us the right with the help of Bernard Carvalho, at the time mayor, to get that poster in every classroom on the island. So that was 2012, year of King Kaumuali'i, and then all the way up to 2017 when we had our Kaumuali'i Ho'olalea. He was also involved, as was Derek, and they aren't here today because it's the inauguration of the county council, so they're here in spirit. And then that picture led to Stu bringing on board Saim Kaiklean as the artist sculptor who did first the 3-foot maquette, but was able to transfer the painting and the feeling with using Ke'aunei Smith as a model, was able to recreate the spirit of King Kaumuali'i. And so I'd like to introduce him, and if you'd like to say a few words.
Good morning. What a great morning for this groundbreaking. We started this project with Alethea and Stu coming to my gallery in Hanapepe almost 6 years ago, I think, or more. And they had the idea and no resources, just the idea. And I said, I would like to do this. I was just blown over. So honored to be part of this culture, and I've been living here since 2000. And so I took on this idea, made some sketches, and finally came down to that king standing, looking out, confident, and tall, handsome, brilliant, you know. And along came this painting, which was inspired by this man in Brooke Parker, and he realized when he was finished, it was, my God, this is my friend Cal that I just did. So he came over to my studio, Ke'aunei Smith, and posed there. And I don't know if you know, just last year he found out that he was 6 generations removed from the king himself. So he was blown away, and got to work on the bronze statue in LA with his mom and sister there. So it's been a family affair. But I grew up in Turkey, Istanbul, came here, studied sculpture at Long Beach State College, and I've been a sculptor all my life, painter, sculptor. And when Alethea came, she told me, you're chosen to do this, Saim, and I believe God has brought you here for this purpose. So I told a friend of mine in California, artist friend, I said, can you believe these Hawaiian people think that I was chosen to do this sculpture? You know, I came all the way from Turkey to California, learned how to do sculpture, came to this little island in the middle of the Pacific to do this statue. That was my purpose. And he said, Saim, I believe that totally. So here we are. And I'm just so honored to be a service to these beautiful women, wonderful community, and to have lived here for 20 years and not really felt at home. You know, I came to understand the soul of Hawaii exists. Most people don't know about it, and I was privileged to know and be accepted into that, and given the opportunity to experience that. It's just incredible. So thank you, Alethea, Maureen, Heao, all of you guys. It's an incredible experience. So mahalo from my heart.
Mahalo you. It takes an artist to be a creator or to recreate the spirit.
Good morning. I just like to add a little bit about You know, this project, like we mentioned, West Kauai Business, I was on their board for a while, sitting on the King Kaumuali'i board, and working with DLNR over the last 27 years. The lawnmower that mows the fort was actually paid for by the state out of a GIA grant. The maintenance is paid by the state. Of course, we haven't had to do much maintenance because we haven't mowed in a while, but the lawnmower is still sitting in my yard collecting dust, so we're hoping to get back to it soon. So this is truly a community event just today, and wait till the culmination when we finally put the statue up and dedicate the statue. It will be chicken skin for everybody. So I will introduce, although some of them have been introduced. You know, Mike Faya is here from Kikiola Construction Company, and we appreciate all the effort and time that he's put into it individually, plus his company. Lauren Starner, he is a project manager for them that's kind of running Kikiola now. Tony King, for some people he doesn't need the introduction. He's done a lot of projects on Kauai. He's done great work. And I've seen him here. I've been here watching his dedication to make sure everything is right. Peleke, is he still here? Peleke Flores. He's going to be helping with the stone wall. Rodney Pascua, he is our architect, and I don't see him here today. And Mike Dimata, he is our landscape architect. Mike's here. So we want to thank them all for all the efforts that they're putting into the project. And I'll leave it at that. Auntie, back to you.
Okay, thank you. There were two people, or maybe two organizations, that were not mentioned. And actually, the distribution of these many flyers that we had was really through Bill Arakaki to the Department of Education. I approached him, and he said he would distribute information into the classrooms. Every classroom of the public school, every private school, every home school, wherever we could get these. I'm going to tell you, we had no money. Barbara Bennett and I had no money. It was money out of our own pockets. But Barbara knew the people at the Kauai Hindu Monastery. They have one of the most beautiful and up-to-date printing. They printed for us 1,000 cards, 1,000 8x12 posters of Brooks painting, and 800 18x24 posters. These were all distributed by Bill Arakaki. So I want to thank him and the school department. He also encouraged the schools that during their May Day program that they lift up Kaumuali'i. The kupuna programs were also involved in the awareness. As I have worked with a number of people looking for some memorialization of the king, as you heard Maureen say, there is no painting, there is no photograph of the king of his face. There is a picture of him walking in a group with a tall hat, very westernly dressed, to Keopulani's funeral. For me, after working so long in this project, because of his high lineage, what was the camera going to do? Was the camera going to take a picture of his mana, of his spiritual powers? We don't know. But there is absolutely no painting. There are others. There was one at Coco Palms. Excuse me. It was a scrawny-looking Hawaiian. He looked like somebody that was going to clean the yard. There's one at the Kauai Museum. But somehow I was not. I did not have the feeling that this was his image. But Brooke Parkhurst spoke to me. Even though Brooke had given me unlimited use of his painting, I did not meet the man. I attended a ho'olaulea at the Kamehameha School, who he is a graduate and I'm a graduate of Kamehameha. And I saw these paintings in one of the booths. It reminded me of Herb Connie. So I walked up and he came up to me and he said, "I'm the artist." I said, "Did you ever take a class with Herb Connie?" He said, "Yes." The techniques were very similar. "How did you paint this picture?" I was curious. He said he went to the Bishop Museum and sat in front of the cape and the helmet. And the cape and the helmet were gifts for Kamehameha, from Kamehameha in 1810, when Kaumuali'i ceded the island to Kamehameha, so there would be no bloodshed, no war. He sat there day after day. How long, he doesn't remember. But one day he just went home, took up his brush, and painted. So when I saw this photograph, somehow it gave life to Kaumuali'i. So join me in a prayer of thanksgiving for all of you. Gracious God, you who have blessed us in many ways, you have blessed the land that we can build upon. You have blessed these people that are willing to help or have helped us. We are thankful, and will always be thankful for your aloha for our people. We are grateful that this is a project of all people. This statue is for all people. I am just an instrument. It does not belong to me. I'm grateful for those that have spoke kindly about me, but I'm just your servant, and I serve you until you call me into the realm with my ancestors. Mahalo ke akua, mahalo amakua, mahalo na kupuna. Amen. Groundbreaking is not a Hawaiian, part of the Hawaiian culture. That's a Western concept. And for this particular event, although on your bulletin I put groundbreaking ceremony, I wasn't too happy with that. So we're going to do a Piko ceremony. The stake underneath of this table is the middle of where the statue will stand. That is the Piko. Okay? In different ceremonies with different attendees, it's usually Keakua's Piko. Cutting of ribbons for housewarming is not Hawaiian culture. Even tying maile across the door is not Hawaiian culture. Hawaiian culture is hang the Piko or hang the tuft of the grass hut and break it. But we're not building a house. People are not going to live in it. We are doing a statue. So I chose to use a Piko ceremony. And I'm sure most of you, unless you're part of the Rotary Club, I did once for them. What we're going to do before we even begin. We call it huikala. Water. What is huikala? Huikala is a ceremonial cleansing. Hanapepe salt. Those of you that do pickles, when you pickle the vegetable or the fruit, what do? You add salt. It draws the water out of the vegetable or the fruit. Likewise, the salt water will draw what we call opala, all that's inside of you. We all come from different places. We come from different cultures, different religious preferences. But we are one in the spirit. Hawaiians believe all things have life. So today, we are ohana. We are one in the spirit. And so when you come here, the word opala is rubbish. Get rid, purge. Purge things that worry you and been affecting you into the water. The salt will draw it out from you. Hawaiians believe that we have 3 Pikos. We are connected to our ancestors through our forehead. We are connected to our parents, our siblings, and today to our community through our navel button. And through our genital parts. That is the future generation. And this is our future generation. And so here is a ho'okupu. What is a ho'okupu? It is a sacred gift to the land. And this one is for the land. It's for pa'ulaula. In it, salt, kukui nut, to light our way. That was the oil that was used for the Hawaiians in their lamps and in their candles and in their torches. Also some inamona. And folks, some limu kohu. All for the land. But that would not have been finished if I had not added some taro, the staple of our people. So I'm going to give this to Pileki because he's our next generation. Folks, he is the dreamer and the designer of what we will see after the construction. I want to thank you, young man. You have much to offer the next generation. So where you place this, it's up to you. So I hand this to you. You can do it now, or you can do it later. You want to do it when? Later? Now? Okay. Yeah.
Bye,
Yeah.
Piko.
Up to you. Thank you. These are real stuff, you know. The black one there and the one on the end are from my great-grandfather, Kapau Kaneolono Kainoaho, grandson of King Kaumuali'i. And this one here was done by John Cruz, my cousin. So Mike, Lauren, and Tony, can you come forward?
Ala. Ano, Yalo, Kaumuali'i. Ano mo yung yaw ko? Oo, ay mo.
Radio oo.
Ano mo yaw ko? Seo.
All are invited. There is no ranks in this time. Come. Cleanse yourself before the Piko. What you will do, you will come here and you will hold the Piko. And between you and your own Creator, you are here to support the project. To support even after the statue is up. This is your time to let go of all of your opala, be clean, and come. Usually this is God's Piko. But I've been called to do this, and so I have called this Kaumuali'i's Piko. I hold his Piko. I am his descendant. Come, Mai, you are welcome. Yeah. Let us close in prayer. Oh, gracious God, earlier when we had the opening prayer, we thank you for the creation. We again thank you for the creation. We thank you for people and places. We thank you for Kikiola Construction, their help, their dedication, the changes that we've had to make, but is all for the good, for everyone. God of love, as family members, we malama each other. We also malama the land and our historic places, which is one here. We also need to tell the stories, the correct stories, not fabricated, enhanced stories, but the true stories of the people and places. And God of hope, without faith, there is no hope. So mahalo kia kua, mahalo au makua, mahalo nā kupuna. Amene, amene, amene.
E ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e, o nā mea huna no e au, o nā mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e au o nā mele. E o mai, e o mai, e o mai, e o mai, ka ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e au o nā mele. E o mai, e o mai, e o mai e.
This is the conclusion, and we can carry your chairs, and there's refreshments for all of us. I hope you all will join and talk story with each other.